Now, the purpose of the Bible is to testify of Jesus Christ. The Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, points to Christ.
The Bible is true in a very strange way. What you do as an educated person is sample that structure that constitutes the sum total of the texts of our civilization.
Because if those four things are true, that there's truth, that God exists, that miracles are possible, and the New Testament is reliable enough to let us know that the resurrection occurred, then Christianity is true. Because if Jesus rose from the dead, game over, Christianity is true.
So, what is the food you give to the soul? It is reading the Bible, the Word of God. And I don't care who you are, you cannot live a victorious life if you neglect Bible reading and Bible study.
But what we have at stake here is far more than that. You know, your life depends on this book. So read it.
Pulpit Commentary, Leviticus chapter 3, verse 1. Peace offering, Zebach Shalomim. Sacrifice of peace offerings. The singular, Shalom, occurs once, Amos chapter 5 verse 22. The conditions to be fulfilled by a Jew who offered a peace offering were the following. First, he must bring either 1, a young bull or cow, or 2, a young sheep of either sex, or 3, a young he-goat or she-goat. Second, he must offer it in the court of the tabernacle. Third, in offering it he must place, or lean, his hand upon its head. Fourth, he must kill it at the door of the tabernacle. Fifth, he must provide 3 kinds of cakes similar to those offered in the meat offering. Trod leavened bread, Leviticus chapter 7 verses 11, 1 through 3. 1. To catch the blood, and strike the sides of the altar with it, as in the burnt sacrifices. 2. To place upon the burnt offering, smoldering upon the altar, all the internal fat of the animal's body, together with the kidneys enveloped in it, and, in the case of the sheep, the fat tails, for consumption by the fire. 3. To offer one of each of the 3 different kinds of unleavened cakes, and 1 loaf of the leavened bread, as a heave offering. 4. To wave the breast of the animal backwards and forwards, and to heave the leg or haunch upwards and downwards, in token of consecration. See notes on Leviticus chapter 7 verses 14, 30, and 31. 5. To take for his own eating, and that of his brethren the priests, the 3 cakes and loaf, and haunch that had been heaved and waved. 6. To return the rest of the animal, and the remaining cakes and loaves, to the offerer, to serve as a feast for him, and his, to be eaten the same or the next clay, in the court of the tabernacle. The lesson taught by the peace-off ring was the blessedness of being in union with God as his covenant people, and the duty and happiness of exhibiting a joyous sense of this relation by celebrating a festival meal eaten reverently and thankfully in the house of God, a part of which was given to God's priests, and a part consumed symbolically by God himself. The burnt offering had typified self-surrender, the meat offering. Loyal submission, the peace offering, typified the joyous cheerfulness of those who, having in a spirit of perfect loyalty surrendered themselves to God, had become his children, and were fed at the very board at which he deigned symbolically to partake. The most essential part of the meat offering was the presentation of the burnt offering, the consumption of the victim on the altar of the peace offering, the festive meal upon the sacrifice. The combined burnt and meat offering was the sacrifice of one giving himself up to God, the peace offering that of one who, having given himself up to God, is realizing his communion with him. In this respect, the peace offering of the old dispensation foreshadows the Lord's Supper in the new dispensation. Several other names have been proposed for the peace offering, such as thank offering, salvation offering, etc. No name is more suitable than peace offering. But the word must be understood not in the sense of an offering to bring about peace, but an offering of those who are in a state of peace, answering to the Greek word alpha omega iota kappa, rather than to the Latin word pacifica. A state of peace and friendship with God was the basis and sine qua non to the presentation of a shalom. And the design of that presentation, from which its name was derived, was the realization, establishment, verification, and enjoyment of the existing relations of peace, friendship, fellowship, and blessedness, according to Kurtz in Sacrificial Worship, verses 3 and 4. There were 4 parts to be burned upon the altar. First, the fat that covereth the inwards, i.e., the large net, omentum, pipiland omicron upsilon, caul, or adipose membrane found in mammals, attached to the stomach, and spreading over the bowels, and which in the ruminants abounds with fat. Second, all the fat which is upon the inwards, i.e., the fat attached to the intestines, and which could be peeled off. 3, the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is on them, which is by the flanks, or loins, i.e., the kidneys, and all the fat connected with them. The kidneys are the only thing to be burnt, except the fat. Fourth, the smaller net, omentum minus, or caul above the liver, which stretches on one side to the region of the kidneys. Hence on the kidneys equals by them, not with them, according to Gardiner. Verse 5. Upon the burnt sacrifice. The peace offering is to be placed upon the burnt offering previously laid upon the fire. Symbolically and actually, the burnt offering serves as the foundation of the peace offering. Self-surrender leads to peace, and the self-sacrifice of Christ is the cause of the peace subsisting between God and man. Verse 9. The whole rump should no doubt be the whole tail, consisting chiefly of fat, and always regarded as a great delicacy in the East. See Herod. Chapter 3, page 113. Thompson, Land and the Book, page 97. The burning of the fat tail upon the altar, together with the internal fat, is the only point in which the ritual to be used when offering a sheep, verses 6 through 11, differs from that used in offering a bull or cow, verses 1 through 5, or a goat, verses 12 through 16. Verse 11. It is the food of the offering made by fire unto the Lord. Literally, it is the bread of the offering by fire to the Lord. The idea of the peace offering being that of a meal at God's board. The part of the animal presented to God upon the altar is regarded as his share of the feast, and is called his food or bread. Cross-reference Revelation chapter 3 verse 20, I will come into him, and will sup with him, and he with me. Verse 17. Eat neither fat nor blood. These are forbidden to be eaten, as belonging to God. The fat, that is, the internal fat, is his portion in the common feast of the peace offering, and the blood is presented to him in all the animal sacrifices, as the material vehicle of life. See Leviticus chapter 7 verses 22 through 27. The remaining regulations as to the various sorts of the peace offerings, the priest's portions of them, and the festive meal on the sacrifices, are given in Leviticus chapter 7 verses 11 through 34.